So welcome back to the Cycle Podcast. Today we're going to talk about the holidays and some emotions that are around the holidays, some experiences and stories that we've gone through personally, and traditions, family traditions from each of us. And we're going to explore some ways to cope with holiday stress, financial stress, anxiety, depression, around both Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's.
We are talking about mental health and the holidays, the positives, the negatives, anything and everything in between. And we leave you off with some good strategies when you are back with your family, whether we're having a holly jolly great time or if it's a little bit more difficult, realizing that these times bring some unexpected emotions up. It's bubbling at the surface. And sometimes it's hard to deal with those things, and realizing that you're not the only one that is dealing with some of these things. So come take a deep dive with us on holidays and mental health. All right, yeah, mental health and the holidays. We talked about seasonal depression like a few episodes ago. So obviously like that is wrapped up into all of this, where like things are getting darker, things are getting colder. Animals are usually burrowed away for a few months during this time, and we're
hibernating,
just still raw dogging life. And then we got the holidays. Even better.
Yep.
Danny, you're a little Mormon boy.
Mm-hmm.
How was your mental health during holidays growing up as a Mormon? Like, what are some of these Mormon traditions? Do you feel like there's a lot of pressure from, like, the church to go to church? Like, what did that look like as a little young Mormon guppers?
As a Mormon guppers, we attended church for sure during the holiday season. Big Christian household. I don't think there was necessarily like any increase in pressure to be like actively going throughout November and December per se, but it was definitely more of a festive vibe, more songs about Jesus, more Jesus oriented opposed to just like, you know, all the prophets. It's just more Christ centric, I would say.
Did you guys have to do like the Advent, like the candles?
Yeah.
There's like 3 purple, 1 pink. Did you guys do that?
Not that.
That's Catholic. Yeah, I did that.
We did the little play set of Christ, you know, and we'd make it out of like
the
chocolate.
nativity scene.
Exactly.
Out of chocolate?
Yeah.
And then you'd eat Jesus.
Yeah, we'd make it out of white chocolate. We'd buy like a mold and make it every year. It was really good.
Was that a church thing or your family thing?
I think a little bit of both.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Any fights around the nativity scene, or was it usually pretty peaceful?
I'd say it's pretty peaceful. Yeah, we didn't throw hands. That was like, I feel like the most peaceful place, you know, of the year was the nativity scene. Respect for Christ.
See, I feel like the opposite. During the holiday season,
yeah, it was chaos.
Ensued.
Fucking Christ.
Yeah. How so?
Chaos ensues during the holidays.
I feel like my family emotions get heightened around like big events or holidays. Like there's like somebody's got to have a meltdown on Christmas Day, Christmas Eve. Someone's having a meltdown. Either food's not ready or prepared, someone's not ready to go on time, and that's just my mom's side of the family. My dad's side is like this, like it's very interesting. Like I feel like I envision my mom's side of the family, and it's like nails on a chalkboard, and I go over to my dad, it's like Santa Claus and jingle bells and everybody's happy. And it's just my parents have been split, so I would have so many Christmases, like we're going to this person's house, we're going to that person's house, and then we're going out this way, we're going out that way, like all over. And it was so much fun. I enjoyed it, but it would still, like, there would be still heightened stress of like, we
have to go here and then we have to go here. If we don't leave by this time, who's going to bake the fucking casserole?
Yeah. I got to get leftovers now. You know what I mean? Like, are your socks folded the correct way? Like, it was just.
Who got the cookies? You forgot the cookies? We got to turn around.
We got to turn right back around. Yeah. It's somebody had a meltdown all the time. And it's weird because I'm a child, you know? So like I think I still believed in Santa until I was like probably 13, because I wanted to fully believe that there was magic like that in the world, because my home life was a little rough.
For sure.
And I remember one time my stepsisters and I stayed up all night because we were like, we're going to fucking find this fucker. Like, we're going to get him, you know? We're all in the living room. And my heart broke when I saw my mom and my stepdad come and lay those presents down. I was like, those fuckers are lying to me.
You were 13 years old when you did that for the first time and stayed up?
Yeah.
Damn.
Because they would tell me if I didn't go to sleep, Santa wouldn't come.
I remember being like 6 years old and be like, fuck that, I'm not going to sleep. And then just walking outside and seeing my mom like wrapping gifts. I'm like,
I knew if I didn't obey, bad things would come.
yeah.
So I'm going to bed. My ass is down. But
what about you, E? How old were you when you found out
My
about
mom
Santa?
was like, he's not real.
Really? She just told you?
Well, she didn't tell me flat out. I remember learning it at school, but she was like, I don't believe in lying to my kids.
Yeah, what an interesting concept. All the parents conspire to keep the kids under the skies.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's probably those parents that are just like, fuck it. And they're like, just tell their kids. And then those are like the bad parents, you know, that are just like letting the secret out to everyone.
Yeah, she didn't really. I'd be like, wait, like, why do all the gifts say like from like mom too? And I was like, didn't Santa come? And she would just like, she wouldn't say yes.
She'd be like, I'm not letting Santa take credit for
Yeah, she was
his
like,
hard-earned gifts.
like she wouldn't like play into
Which
it.
I kind of get, you know.
But like my dad on the other side would like take cookies and like crumble them throughout like the whole house and be like, this messy guy, who does he think he is? And the reindeers with carrots outside. So I was just like two completely different ways of seeing Christmas.
God, how totally different flip side. Like,
Yeah,
it was so
180.
confusing. What is happening?
Yeah. She's like, I'm not going to lie to you. And my dad was like,
Fully
this
into the
messy
whole
man, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, what is real? But yeah, I think I associate cortisol with Christmas.
Interesting.
How so?
Just unexpected volatility. Whether dad's drinking, and like we'll dive into some stats, but like a lot of alcoholism that transpires. My mother with like certain gifts and like getting everything together, or it's like who's not talking to who as far as like family dynamics. So we can't go to this house, but we can go to this house this year. Next year it's different. And then more recently, after I graduated, now I like live in California. Going home, I don't like have a bedroom or like a place to stay, so it's like a hot potato.
Yeah.
Like where am I going to end up? Which is just like a horrible place to be. And everyone's like, oh no, we'll put the blow up mattress here. We'll figure it out. You know. And
you
I'm
can sleep
like,
on the couch. It's fine.
yeah. And I'm like, I feel like a burden.
Yeah. Same way here.
And I
Same
just
thing.
don't have a place to really be. And this is just, and then it's not like you're like, at my sister's, I feel very comfortable. So I'll sleep on the couch and I'm like, this is a very safe, enjoyable spot. But like back at home, it's just a lot of expectations, violations, yelling, screaming, all this stuff. So it just,
Yeah.
even in my later life, still is like, here, it's coming around town.
Isn't that fascinating? It's like the contradiction between what the intent of the holidays are and what ultimately they end up bringing.
Yeah.
Always.
It's crazy. Yeah, I'm like not a relatively anxious person, and I feel anxious during the holidays.
I used to always, and regardless of whatever was happening on with the family, I think because I wanted what the idea of Christmas and Thanksgiving are supposed to bring, I really enjoyed the time because everybody was together, you know, like that doesn't happen that often. And I really wanted to believe that like it was regardless of who's having a crying in the corner, but like that just happened, you know, like this is a time to celebrate and like be together.
Yeah.
And I miss it. Like there's a part of me like I can still smell smells and like think of like, oh, that reminds me of like Christmas down in the basement at Grams and Grams, or like
Totally.
and I miss it dearly. But when I go back home, even if it's not around the holidays, I'm literally like flopping around. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, you can stay in my house. And then it's like, well, we got to go to the game tomorrow. You can go back to grandma's. And
Right.
I just get a hotel eventually. I'm like,
Yeah.
I rent a car, I get a hotel,
I'd
because
just
it's
rather
like
be self-sufficient.
everybody's kids are still really young or in that intermittent between, and I'm like way older. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a weird situation.
For sure. It makes me like, as we're like cycle breakers, think like, what is the family that I want to raise? And like just ensuring that like whenever anyone comes home during holidays, whether it's Thanksgiving, Christmas, like anytime, just like having a place and like making it like enjoyable.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh my God, I can't wait to go back.
Yeah.
Like, I love it there.
Yeah.
And like, I don't really want to go,
Yeah.
but like a safe, secure area.
Because I had so many different places to go, some places were like that for me. Like I would still like Grams and Grams house every holiday. Like if I could go there every holiday, I would still to this day, because it just reminds me of my childhood and like just being there. But like and my grandma and grandpa's, but like being at home was weird for some reason because it's like we're always going somewhere. So it's a very unique situation. But yeah, I want it to be enjoyable.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm running out of time. Like I don't have kids yet. And so I'm like, do I need to freeze my eggs? You know, like, am I going to have kids if that's something that I want? And I'm so far away from everybody. Do you think about that? Like, are you going to raise your kids, or even you, because you're so family oriented, family centered, right? As like being Mormon, if you decide to have kids in the next couple of years, are you going to move back? Are you going to stay out here? Like, what do you guys think your plans are going to be?
Yeah, I would definitely want to move back to Utah, or at least somewhere outside of Los Angeles. I think having a support group and having your family nearby helps a lot to raise children.
Takes a village, they say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But I remember like some of the most like enthralling and like captivating moments of my childhood were like during the holidays, when I remember waking up for Christmas morning and really wanting like just a silly gift, a teddy bear or a Tonka truck, and just knowing it was in one of those gifts, in one of those boxes, and just waking up and just running out at like 5 a.m, you know, and it's like it's still dark outside, and just like jumping on my parents' bed and waking them up and then harassing them until they let us open the gifts. That was like ecstasy as a child, you know. And then there's a threshold where it turns, and as you're alluding to, it becomes more about preparing the food or taking responsibility of the younger kids, or trying to coordinate gifts for other people.
What it would be to be 5 again and have Christmas.
Oh, God,
yeah, I think
and like other people are like, let's make this special for them, you know.
Yeah.
Exactly. They're like, that's the whole intention. I think that's really the reason why people do it ultimately, for Christmas at least. I think for Thanksgiving it's more age agnostic.
I love Thanksgiving because I think there's no pressure for Thanksgiving.
That's what I'm saying. It's like there's no pressure financially to be able to get gifts. And then also it's not like we're making this magical for the children, but rather for everyone.
Eat and be grateful.
Yeah.
It's like low. For me, it's low.
Yeah.
Like low stress.
Sometimes my family, someone will like not talk to certain people, and like everybody goes to this one place and they're like, well, she's not there, you know, like, and it's heartbreaking because like we're all together and we want her there. And it's just like sad that happens so often around the holidays, and it's always around the holidays.
Yeah, my mom and her sisters are like that, and it would only hurt me and my cousin.
Yep.
I'm like, the only person I want to hang out with is my cousin when I come home, but like they're not talking, so we have to have separate Christmases or Thanksgivings. It's horrible. And it's like, imagine like everyone has to cook other turkeys or other food. It's like just all come together and make one, you know, like there's no need
it's
to
like
do
the Scrooge of connection, you know?
Yeah, literally. It's like, and that tension is only affecting everyone else in the family that's trying to have fun.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, I think that like depression and anxiety definitely come up. Like one of the biggest things when we were kind of prepping for the episode, we talked about specifically, I guess, for like the holiday season or the gift giving season is like the financial stress that also comes around it.
Yes, the financial stress.
Did you experience that growing up?
On my mom's side, absolutely. Like it was, I could feel like, I know they did the best that they could with what they had, but my dad's side was a completely different experience. You know, like they did everything, but I could feel it like before Christmas of like, we've got to like really, really watch what we are spending, and you know what I mean? Because Christmas is coming up. And then after, there was also like this financial stress, like the new year, because there's no money left.
It holiday debt hangover.
Yeah. And my mom loves shopping. She probably, one of her biggest downfalls is when she's ready to shop and spend some money,
she's going to drop.
She's going to shop till she drops. And then there's just like this regret. And my dad wasn't like that. He would, you know, have his finances in order.
I mean, research says that holiday overspending leads to this holiday debt hangover, which is a long-term effect on mental health and financial stability. And that's another episode that I want to do, honestly, the connection between financial state and then mental health, because it's quite fascinating. But a survey done by Bankrate found that 37% of adults who purchased holiday gifts in 2020 went into debt.
Yeah. Well, that was COVID wild. Too.
2022. Yeah. But it's pretty wild how like people will go into debt and carry these
months
and months later.
God.
In the summer, they're still paying off for their holiday gifts.
That's insane.
And this financial burden obviously could lead to like stress and feelings of guilt.
There's also society norms, not anymore, but back when I was like 13, 14, 15, Black Friday after Thanksgiving, like we leave Thanksgiving early to go knock somebody out for a TV.
Yeah.
Like
Me
we
too.
would
That's
we
still a
would
thing,
Were you
fight.
swinging for TVs?
Yes, I would go with my best friends, Katie and her mom and her brother. We would go, like I would leave my family to go with their family, and they would be out. I mean, dodge them, kick them. Like we were running through the door. Like it was, I was just completely like shocked. I was like, hell yeah, dude. Like all jacked up on Mountain Dew. Like we're out there doing it. Like it was intense. Like
Katie, hit her.
Yeah, literally. Grab it. Get it. You're not there. There's mounds of people climbing over each other, like in an Indianapolis Walmart, and like you could just see the hand of the PlayStation.
And it's like a DVD. You know what I mean? Like it's like crazy.
It's
what
ridiculous.
Are we fighting for?
Literally, but it was so much fun. Like running. It was
Or
so
people
much
would
fun.
line up around
Yes.
Best Buy, Target.
Oh God, it was so much fun though. It was just, and now we're just like click.
Yeah, add to cart.
Yeah,
There's
it's like
no
we wait
rush.
till midnight.
People are still doing that shit for sure.
You think so?
Yeah, in Middle America.
I used to
they're
work
definitely
at,
still.
At Saks, and it was a clothing store, and I remember it was like Black Friday, like who got the shift from 10 till 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's like, who in the right mind is coming in at 4 in the morning and loading their cart up?
There are people that did it.
I know, but think about like what is up with those people. Like that is crazy.
Because they wanted to
Yeah.
save the money, the deals for Christmas. Like that was the point.
It's
Is
so
it
crazy.
for saving, or are you cracked up on the idea of like?
I think it's consumerism at its finest.
Yeah,
like people are
consumerism.
just
'Cause there's
getting
an addiction
high
there.
off of
Oh, yeah.
purchasing for sure.
That's where we get most of our gifts. Like,
Like
if,
imagine you're loaded up on taters, fucking turkey, stuffing.
Yeah.
And then you're like, to the Walmart we go.
Yep.
Like it's time to raid.
eat
Like,
a bunch of pumpkin pie before so you got up on sugar. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was so much. I had a blast doing it. I mean, I didn't understand what the point was, but fuck, if you want me to go get that DVD, I'll go get, it was so much fun.
They say Americans don't have culture, but I feel like if there are
That's culture
2
if I've ever
days
heard
for
one, yeah.
that are the epitome of America, it's Thanksgiving back to back, the antithesis of being grateful and just grasping for any material good in your vision.
Yeah. That is such an American thing. Or like November 1st, it's time. And then it's like the cracking of Mariah Carey.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's begun.
As she's playing on Thursday Night Football or whatever, it's like that's the epitome
Yeah.
of American culture.
Absolutely.
Football,
Like right there.
Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
Black Friday.
Christmas time
Mariah
gets
Carey.
crazy. I'm starting to get it on my For You page now, and it's coming up more and more. Yeah, and it's like the Mormon moms getting ready for Christmas, or like all these influencers buy all these pillows, and it's like stacks and stacks of things. And I was like, that right there is overconsumption at its finest. Whether you hate it or you don't, Bed Bath & Beyond scents have unlocked Christmas holiday season.
I remember walking in the malls. Like malls are such a big thing back then.
Yeah.
And like the air would hit my face. My eyes would start watering because of it was just like that
The
atmosphere.
scent of Cinnabon and Aunt Annie's
Yes.
just in the air.
Yes.
You would
And
go on like Saturday instead of Friday, and it would just be vacant. It would look like a ghost town, and everything was just raided.
I loved it. It was so much fun. I wish I could go back.
Overconsumption, that definitely comes up obviously during the holiday time.
Food.
The other thing that comes up, which is quite interesting, is just loneliness as a whole, right? Like we talk about all these dynamics with our family and like love to hate them, hate to love them. But imagine those people who like just don't have families.
That's
you
true.
know? And like rates of loneliness, rates of suicide. And there's a few different demos that are really being affected right now. Gen Z and millennials, so like 18 to 34, report the highest rates of loneliness during this time. So they're really getting hit right now. They say that 40% of young adults feel isolated during the holiday season.
Yeah.
Factors include limited family contact, tendency to move, work, school, social media, feelings of loneliness through comparison even. Maybe your family's doing better than mine is, or I didn't get said gifts, vice versa. And I think also a big point now is like estrangement. Like estrangement is such a big thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like I don't maybe want to deal with some of these issues, so I'm no longer going to talk to this person, or you're like, that's actually a very unhealthy environment. I'm not going to return back, but you don't have your own family yet.
Right.
And
we're waiting longer and longer to have kids than the other generations. Like if I just think about my mom, like she already had 3 kids at my age, you know?
My mom had 5 of them.
That's what I'm saying. Single. Like at my age, my mom was already like, was in 4th grade, like everybody, she just had 2 new babies.
Yeah.
Like at my age to think about that, and I'm doing other things. So I can see how this generation is a little bit like, and I haven't gone home for Christmas in...
It's been a while, you said, right?
9 years?
Yeah, it's a while.
I mean, I've gone home obviously, but not for the actual holidays. So I've always had to work. I've always done other things just to stay busy, and it's definitely taken a toll on my mental health for sure.
I mean, it totally makes sense. What about you, Danny? Have you ever felt loneliness during this season?
Definitely. Yeah, I think for me, one of the first times I've felt lonely during the holidays was like after a breakup. Like I remember spending the holidays with each other's families, and then the following year not having that and just feeling like very isolated in that. But I'd say aside from that, like your own internal immediate family typically satiates that desire for human connection. And then if you have, like you're missing someone either through like a breakup or like losing someone due to like, them dying or passing away.
Yeah.
It can definitely trigger those feelings during the holidays.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole nother point here where it's like any individual's like grief was such a huge thing. Obviously with my father passed away, 11 years back. And then my cousin passed away at that same time. And my grandmother handled it relatively well. And I was also a bit removed with my mom because they were never really together. So I kind of escaped a bit. But I remember my cousin, so it's like my mom's sister, she like couldn't have a Christmas for like 4 or 5 years, and like she's like, I have nothing to celebrate, like my son isn't here.
Yeah.
And like I feel like grief really plays a role in like anxiety and like even like a depressive spirit, where it's like, how could I celebrate if this person is no longer here?
Right.
So those feelings definitely come up during this time, and it's almost like a reminder on like even with, I feel like actually with my father, the one thing that did come up is he's always did like Christmas Eve,
Yeah.
So it's like, well, who's going to do Christmas Eve now?
Yeah.
And then my uncle does Christmas. So my grandmother did it for a while, and then people just stopped going. So now she doesn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So even that, like that routine kind of.
Yeah, the rituals.
Dies out. And it's sad. I'm grateful. It's hard to think for you, like that you've had that, right? And like, if I am trying to like put myself in your position of like losing my father, like, world upside down, you had this ritual like from as a kid and you're still so young, like that's a hard thing to manage and deal with and just handle in of itself. And then, people stop showing up, people get estranged, and that's just fuck, dude.
Yeah.
That's really hard to deal with.
Yeah.
Just really hard. I'm thinking about all these different people that I haven't seen in years, and they probably think the same about me, like I just am not there. But it's not because I don't want to. It's because I just haven't had the opportunity. It's not been the right time.
Yeah, 100%.
And even beyond, like, I think like connections and other family members and loved ones, I think the primary intention of the holidays is to cultivate feelings of gratitude and joy, obviously, and love for yourself and for your family and for life in general. And I think when there are extraneous circumstances, like for example, if someone lost their job, like, the primary provider of the household, or if someone got in a car accident, right? It's really difficult to like have those two sensations exist simultaneously in terms of like feeling grateful and joy while there's something catastrophic that recently ensued as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've just heard of people kind of enduring those sort of things, and still trying to maintain that gratitude and joy can be difficult.
Yeah. Even the financial side of things, like in any of this.
Yeah. And there's like almost the societal pressure that, you're supposed to be grateful or something like this when you might be at like rock bottom.
Jolly and happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Can't imagine what, just thinking about COVID and all how that had everybody separated and how hard that probably changed everybody's world upside down. And this also says older adults, people 65 and up, 56% of adults over 65 report feeling lonely during the holidays if they live alone. Oh, that's so sad. According to AARP.
I mean, that makes sense.
AARP
age group
is the data.
More than half of seniors feel lonely during the holidays.
Like retirement. Oh,
I think about all the people that are widowed, you know, that their spouse has passed away.
I think about my grandma all the time. That first holiday set of holidays is the hardest, and she was like, I'm putting the tree up. I'm just gonna put the tree up, you know, just to do it out of, you know, habit and like make her feel better. The AARP study found that women report higher levels of loneliness during the holidays compared to men, especially those who are single or divorced. Single mothers report feeling isolated due to increased financial pressures, and lack of extended family support during the holiday season. Low-income individuals,
that checks out. 45% of people in low-income households socially isolated during the season. Yeah, I mean, social media is a bitch during this time.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's posting what they got, which also is a crazy concept as well. Like, you show off all the gifts that you got, you know?
You gotta do that at school too.
Did you run into that as a kid? Like, you wouldn't get the nicest like new iPhone model or something, or like PlayStation, and just feeling like excluded or lonely because of that?
I think my family tried to do the best that they could. Like my dad, you know, because my mother was of extremely low income, so she would try and do anything she could. But my dad, like, if I wanted something, my dad would get it.
He would have got it.
He would have got it for Christmas. And I wanted when I was in middle school, the iPod Touch came out. And like,
it's a big day.
I think it was my freshman year actually at high school. And I came downstairs because I spent the night there, and there's this huge box. And I'm like, motherfucker, didn't get the iPod Touch. I'm opening the box, still more boxes empty. I'm opening, and it's this little tiny box all the way at the very bottom. But he got it for me.
That's nice.
You know,
the iPod Touch, that's like a nostalgic core memory.
And it was this huge, giant box. I'm like, this
Flappy
dick.
Bird.
But he would go above and beyond because he knew that experience. And my other side, my mom was struggling.
It's
you
crazy.
know?
Yeah, I remember running into that too. I think I had the iPod Nano before, while my friends had the iPod Touch, and I had to work my way to the Touch myself.
Nothing worse when you get a Nano.
My grandma would do that too.
Yeah.
She would do anything for me as well.
Yeah.
I got that big iPhone. Rectangular Nano, you know, with the big rectangle screen. I kind of like that one. Yeah.
With all like the ads where they're dancing with their headphones on. Yeah. You know? Sick. Another thing that comes up during the holiday season, which I have definitely experienced, I'm sure you have as well, Kyla. I'm interested, Danny, if you've seen this, substance use and self-medication.
Me personally, I always told this to everybody. My problems, like I obviously struggle from past addiction, heroin use, and fentanyl use. And it always gets bad right before the holidays. If like I always end up in treatment right around the holidays. I think it's been 2 years now. My overdose was on Christmas, you know, and it's always hard because then I'm like calling home from a treatment center on Christmas, and my mom's like, what is going on? And it's just like, it's heartbreaking.
It's a tough call to make.
But I feel like it's sadness and loneliness because I'm not with my family.
Yeah.
So I try to cope. Yeah.
I think it's the depression and the loneliness. And it's like you're looking for a cope.
The shame that I have to be out here and have to be away.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to fill that giant God-sized hole or whatever they want to call it inside of me with how I'm feeling. And
it's all sadness. You know,
it's all sadness.
NIAA. So the National Institute of Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism says that alcohol consumption rises up about 33% during the holiday season.
That's where they see people enter treatment the most too.
Yeah.
And then you add seasonal affective disorder on top of that, and it could be the perfect storm for some people.
Yeah, drunk driving. Emergency room visits skyrocket during this time. This is from SAMHSA.
SAMHSA, yeah.
And substance abuse is really increased about 54% of visits of alcohol-related issues during the week of Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. Yeah, because we're talking about Thanksgiving and Christmas a lot, but also New Year's. Like the thought of like, fuck, like I got to get better before the new year, or like what are my intentions, or like, no, I'm going to get clean or start anew in the new year. So like, let's fucking have a
go at it.
Good old time. I'm not working sometimes during this week. Like, Let's fucking go.
I feel like that's the drunk driving like hotspot or peak, probably more so than even Thanksgiving or Christmas.
Well, even that, like some people go to family events like Thanksgiving, Christmas, and they'll drink.
Yeah.
And they'll drive because they brought their whole family. I used to see that all the time. Thank God nobody was hurt or, got in trouble, but it would just be the norm, Dad, uncle was drinking, he's gonna take all the kids home now, and
it's also socially acceptable. It's like we talk about all these anxieties, fucking financial, depression, loneliness, family dynamics, dead people coming back up, and it's like, you're gonna sit there or are you gonna cope?
Yeah.
Let me reach for the bottle. It would be great to not think about this anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of these stressors are bubbling at the surface.
Yeah.
So why not just like cut the chatter, cut the noise?
My grandma never drinks anytime, only on Christmas.
Same with my parents.
She'll literally have eggnog and Kahlua.
Yeah.
That will be
Kahlua
her
is
like
huge.
her drink, and it's like the only time I've ever seen her drink actually.
Yeah, we like split a bottle of wine usually on Christmas, but my parents don't ever drink besides that. I think it can be a way to kind of cultivate that openness too with your family, and like, I don't know, I think that obviously it can trigger a lot the holidays, but also it's like it can inspire a lot of connection too, It's about like, how do you make that intention as clear as possible? And
we obviously like are reviewing like a lot of the negative stuff, even just like going back into an environment that maybe is like a bit toxic, but there's also a lot of positive that come with all of these things as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like you mentioned, Danny, like the ability to connect is so huge, and like the people that know me the best, like I get to see them during this time of year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like Christmas with cortisol is like my initial thought, but then when I'm like actually there, it's like you're connecting with your people that actually really know you. Whether it's your cousins, siblings,
you haven't seen them all year.
Even your parents, it's like so easy for us to be like, well, they did this and they did that, but it's like you wouldn't be here without them. You know what I mean? And you are a direct reflection of their development as a human.
Totally.
Yeah. And if alcohol consumption goes up and you get goofy with your family members and have a good time, and Uncle Jimmy's like, passed out in the corner, like 5 drinks in, and you're goofing around with your cousins and
goofy goober
putting, mustaches and Sharpie on his face and shit. Like it could be fun,
I have some of the best chats with grandma a little bit. Sloshed.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Just like, it's the only time we drink as a family, really, and just have a glass of wine and get open and play some card games.
I never actually had that. I got into heroin way too early to ever have an experience drinking with my family.
You just skip the entire.
I love drinking. I was just home like 3, I guess, I don't know, like 8, maybe like a month and a half ago at this point, and Grammy and I went half on a bottle of white wine.
Aww.
The truth was flowing.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to connect, where it's like, she was opening up about some things that really have hurt her in the past, and like only I would know, because I understand obviously all the family dynamics,
right?
But I'm not there to be able to see it on day to day, and it's like those types of things allow the truth to get out as well. So sometimes a few drinks is nice.
It can be a catalyst for open dialogue for sure. And I think also just the relinquishing of shame too, like, because I think there's a lot of shame around these taboo topics when it comes to family systems and dynamics and whatnot. And if you have a little,
there's something to be said about some liquid courage as well.
Absolutely.
To be like, remember that one time,
Uncle? Exactly.
That you touched me.
It's funny that you say this, because I remember sitting in rehab as I turned 21 from being a fucking heroin addict, and my dad had written me a letter on my 21st birthday, and I will never forget this. He wrote he was saddened that he was not going to be able to celebrate my 21st birthday with me like he would normally, like a normal, like very, like, his drinking's huge in my dad's side of the family. Like, they all worked at bars growing up. Like, I grew up at a bar, really famous bar in Indianapolis. Like, I was behind the bar. Like, drinking was prevalent. There's a bar in my grandparents' downstairs. Yeah. It was very prevalent, and there's like no addiction on that side. So it was very hard for them to wrap their brain around. And just that sadness, because it does bring people together. It's like, let the spirits loose, and that's how they bond and they talk about it. So I will always remember that it was just so hard and for them to understand.
For sure.
staying sober during the holidays, all of that. That's a whole other
it
issue.
brings people together. I think other positive things is like tradition is huge, and like being able to like come around tradition. Like since we were like tribes, we have these amazing traditions.
Yeah, I think the concept of like Thanksgiving is honestly something that we could use a lot more of in our society. Like we should have like a monthly Thanksgiving or something, you know, where
just
people
like
are
a
just
big
like,
old feast.
Yeah, we have so many blessings as a society.
Yeah,
you know?
Even like OG stories of Thanksgiving, you know, like the Pilgrims coming together with the natives.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. Like if the Trumpers could come together with the, you know, the Kamala supporters, like that would be, you know, the great rejoice.
But it's also really sad to me. It's like that one day right out of the year they go out and they like help the homeless. They feed the homeless. It's like that one day that they're out and like helping. But it's like the homeless are suffering every single day.
They only get help on Thanksgiving.
They only get help on Thanksgiving. It's
maybe Christmas if they're lucky.
Yeah, it's like really we could really use a lot more of that because it's people are like, oh, we got to think about Thanksgiving. That's one day out of the year, people.
Yeah, they could do like the third Sunday of every month or something, and like, you know, go
out
and
Friendsgiving. Let's have Friendsgiving monthly.
Yeah,
Get a whole bunch of people together, do a little, you know, potluck. Everyone brings some mac and cheese and some food.
Yeah, especially in a city like Los Angeles where a lot of people here are transplants. It's like cultivating that community is so important.
Yeah, it is.
And together, I'm grateful. Play some pickleball.
Yeah.
On a hike.
I think that's my biggest downfall, that I don't realize that like I live in Los Angeles. Like I isolate so much.
Yeah.
That I'm like, oh, sometimes I have to like pinch myself and like think like, oh, like when I'm driving home from here and I'm passing LA, like sometimes I have to like really check myself to even realize that I live here and reflect. Wow. And it's been a struggle in my adult life coming out here by myself to build relationships with solid people that are good people and keep them around, because a lot of people like fade away, they start having kids, like whatever.
Totally.
So it's hard, especially being out here on your own.
Yeah. People are transient. I think this goes for all big cities too, and I think a lot of people listening can probably relate to this, you know, that are in New York or Chicago or
the big cities.
Away for college.
Big cities
in general,
lights.
Honestly.
Yeah. I think another thing that kind of comes up like more towards the end of the year is being able to like reflect and like have gratitude obviously on Thanksgiving, but just like gratitude for your year and like reflect and be like, whoa, like look how fast this year has ended. Like we are about to enter 2025. Crazy. Like imagine back in like 2010 when we're like the year 2025, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's giving.
It's interesting because like
future.
Some years I feel like it feels like you're just sludging along for the last 12 months, you know, when Thanksgiving and Christmas start coming around and you're like I feel like I've made little to no progress. And then some years it feels like you've made like quantum leaps and you've lived like 4 years in one.
Oh God, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I feel like this year is one of those, whereas last year was one of those where I was just like, we were just getting through. But I feel like the past 12 months has been like crazy transformative. We're in like from A to Z.
I feel like every year throughout the 20s has been like as I reflect, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Things have progressed, or at least moving. Some years at the end, I'm still like, ugh, like could I have done more? But I think as I reflect back even further, I'm like, no, like we've made some really healthy, steady strides.
Yeah.
But I think getting really like, I think I like to do the New Year's resolutions and like a little vision board, you know, like set goals, not like goals like I have to do X, Y, or Z or like get back in the gym or anything like that. Just like, what does that year look like, you know?
Yeah.
And I think this year I had like the year of like balance, which it was like a bit imbalanced, but I feel like I've gotten really good at being like, when I'm feeling imbalanced, like with work, like reach out to a friend, you know, or reconnect with family or something along those lines.
It's interesting practice that I learned from you is to have like a theme for every year and try to like cultivate an intention, which is like kind of contrary to like the societal standard of having like these SMART goals, you know, that are like specific, measurable, etc. Where it's like I want to, you know, lose or gain XYZ pounds, or I want to lose or gain as much money or whatever it is, and it's very like quantified, and you're kind of just like,
I want soft goals,
balance,
not hard goals.
Achievable goals,
not even non-achievable goals. It's like a theme rather than like you have like soft skills and hard skills versus you have like
soft goals and hard goals, I guess.
And it's like a soft goal, like be balanced. Okay, what does that look like? you know.
Interesting.
But like coming towards the end of the year, looking at towards the next year, what are soft goals that you could have for yourself? So
I think that is a more like feasible way of going about it that doesn't have so much disappointment, because I feel like also a lot of people have these New Year's resolutions and then a couple weeks in, a couple months in, they end up losing that routine, which, you know, ultimately happens to everyone. No one's 100% every day. And then they beat themselves up about it and go in a downward spiral and relapse or get depressed or what have you, opposed to having just like general intentions that you get yourself back on track for, you know?
Yeah.
I never stuck with like the New Year's resolution. I never got into that thing, but I can tell you just in my experience of my journey that the most important thing for me that has helped me get along is the gratitude, and gratitude being an action word.
Super powerful.
And like
to be grateful.
Just to be grateful, like that I have all my senses, or that I'm not blind, or that I like these little small things really matter to me. Yeah. Because there are some people that have it so many different. Yeah. So way off worse than I am.
Perspective is really important.
Yeah. That is the only thing I think that has helped me. Yeah. In the long run. It's not about making amounts of money or whatever. It's just been grateful because it'll come when it's supposed to come.
Yeah, I think that's a great like soft goal, like perspective, like radical perspective taking skills, which in itself is like quite hard to do. But like if you could take a different point, or like be like, my initial thought is negative, but where's the silver lining, and try to get faster at finding the silver lining, or try to like perspective switch, or like if you're in a fight with someone, like how do I radically take their POV, right, and like rework how I could be potentially wrong in their eyes. You know?
Yeah. And I think when it comes to the holidays, especially like for Christmas, for example, it can serve as a really big perspective shift in terms of like, I don't know if growing up y'all had those Santa Claus that would stand outside of the grocery stores like getting change for people.
That's Salvation Army.
Yeah. And then like the coats at school and like stuff like that, and donating, because then you realize like kids are like literally just getting coats for Christmas, you know, like some kids are like, and I mean, sure, I got coats
like,
for Christmas.
Where the fuck is my iPod Nano?
Yeah, exactly. And they're just like trying to get a pair of snow pants so they can play outside in the snow or something, you know, just like clothing.
Yeah, they're just trying to get some boots so that doesn't have holes.
Yeah,
right.
That was explained to me very young. I made my parents made sure
they poured that in.
They like to understand, like, do you know why that man stands out there and rings that bell? Do you know what the Salvation Army is? And like gave me like a lesson of like, these are like people who need, you know, like, you don't like your coat. Well, there's a kid that doesn't have a coat. You know what I mean? Exactly. They would nail that into me, which I know is it's really did help me. It may have been like hardcore love or like hardcore learning, but it's really cultivated who I am today. Yeah. Definitely.
Like, I think the whole sentiment of like when you're not trying to eat your food as a kid, and like the, you know, I don't know if your parents ever said, no, this kid's in Africa starving. Like, I don't know if that works like to an extent, but I do think that in terms of Christmas or just the holidays in general, it doesn't have to be just Christmas. And we've talked a lot about that, but it's obviously Hanukkah and Kwanzaa, etc. But ultimately, I think
Canadian Boxing Day.
It's the spirit of giving, right? In essence, regardless of what dogma or doctrine that's transmuted in. And
I mean, obviously, like as good as that is for the other parties, like the homeless or like the coatless kids, it's also like releasing oxytocin and serotonin and feel good hormones for you as well. And that's a good feel.
I always feel so good after doing something for someone. Being of service.
So like volunteering at the soup kitchen, rolling down, maybe giving $1 or grilled cheese, something like that, you know. But I want to like ensure that we're leaving. We obviously talked about anxiety and depression and some of the positives and the negatives. But, like, what are like clear takeaways that like we're sitting down at T-Day, we are at, you know, lighting the menorah, we are at the Christmas tree, and we are feeling anxious, depressed, or like these emotions are bubbling up. Like, what are ways that we could ensure we're like staying grounded, and just like offer some maybe reminders? I think gratitude is one huge one big key.
Mindfulness,
yeah. I think even unplugging during the holidays, like I think sometimes like you could be feeling like anxious or like
digital detox.
Yeah,
What
a
they
good
call it.
digital detox.
Yeah.
Like you're looking at other people's social medias. What are they doing?
What are they getting for Christmas?
What are they getting for Christmas? Sometimes you might go home and numb. Like that's very easy. Just to like, I want to go back in my own little world that I've curated, my For You page brick by brick.
Yeah.
So like, get me in there. So maybe just like putting the phone down and like sitting maybe with those uncomfortable emotions that come up, if they do come up with your family, and be like, why does that irk me? And use that as a point of like reflection, to like start to pull back and be like, okay, something is coming up. Some type of emotion is being rattled inside of my body for some reason. Let me take this as a cue to do some like introspection. Let me take this as a cue to do like a deeper dive.
Yeah. I'd also say just having those candid conversations as well, asking questions, staying curious. Like for me, just in this healing journey or breaking cycles, right? Asking grandma, why was it like that? You know, like what was actually going on?
Yeah.
Just to have some understanding, because what worst thing I say, I don't want to talk about it, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that's important, is just actually engaging instead of isolating.
Yeah. And you could get more like context to your cycles, right? Like any of your cycles, whether it's like in a relational dynamic or a friend dynamic that maybe like aren't the healthiest, like 9.9 times out of 10, it's like first 18 years. So like you going back to the hive, if you don't live, or just even seeing that, you're going back to where a lot of this was created. So it's an opportunity. I mean, it is a huge opportunity to do a little bit of a deeper dive. Like, these things are coming up, or they've come up in this past year, and like I don't really love this way, you know. Or maybe utilizing vulnerability in a way where it's like, oh mom, like this has come up, or dad, like I don't know why.
Yeah. I think journaling can also be a really good practice too, and just get these like subconscious thoughts and feelings onto paper, and then I think it makes it a lot easier to address these concerns or emotions with your family and work through them as well, and see the holidays as an opportunity to do so instead of a trigger for those negative emotions, but an opportunity to alleviate them.
Yeah. And I think to that point, like set healthy expectations as well.
Expectations are premeditated resentments.
Yes. But even I think with my situation, like expectations as like, don't think, Elijah, that everything is going to be like as horrible as like you're recalling it to be necessarily. Like you could be pleasantly surprised, and it can be a great experience.
Right.
You know, I'm not going in being like, oh my god, it's gonna be the best holiday time ever.
Yeah.
But just going in and being like, no, this could be like really nice.
Yeah.
You know, like
just being neutral about it, even honestly,
Yeah.
opposed to like, oh damn, I can't, you know, wait to see
No
Uncle
feelings.
Jimmy. Just be like, okay, this,
Yeah.
you know, we'll just go in here and
Acceptance.
accept whatever comes.
Radical acceptance.
And sometimes you're like overthinking your thoughts, like make things worse, and you're building up these narratives or these preconceived ideas in your head that are not real.
Yeah, and you end up perpetuating it and making it real.
Yes, they are not real. So if you go in, like Danny said, like neutral, you might be saving yourself a lot of like harm, or the more that you ruminate it, you may be agitating the situation without even realizing it.
Exactly.
I'm like trying to take all this from my own advice. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm writing my own fucking notes down. Jesus.
I always have somebody that I can check in with that's like outside of the
Good
actual
answer.
like someone that is not even in the circle of what's going on, that I could be like, hey, you've got a minute so I can like debrief this with you, and they can have a different perspective, a different point of view, and they can either tell me that I'm literally crazy, or I'm overthinking it, or no, you're right, let's get out of there. Someone that I can just check in with, like, how are you feeling? I feel like shit right now. Why? This, and this way. Well, why don't you try doing this and help somebody? Or like someone that I can just have and rely on to check in, and it's really, really helpful.
I wholeheartedly agree. I'm like shaking my head like a dog with a ball, because I've gotten better this year. Like before, I feel like I think Danny really helped me out with this, where it's like going home with someone that really knows you, so they know the characters. And even like I have another friend who hasn't been home, but like I've opened up more about like some of the characters and some of the like the strenuous relationships. So being able to like, they have the understanding of the dynamic, so you can almost like check back in and be like, yo, this is happening. Who's not within the family unit. To be like, who knows you now for who you are today
Instead
rather
of,
than
yeah.
you going back into this family unit that may have once known you
And yeah.
versus your evolved version of yourself.
And that could be in person or just by phone.
Mhm.
I'm usually always by the phone type of person. They're just ready by standby to pick up the phone and be
Totally.
like,
Yeah,
just
and you're
answer.
usually traveling a lot during the holidays as well, as in like house to house, or you're at a store by yourself grabbing something. Or,
Yeah.
So you have time just to like get away, check
in.
Big yo. Hey. And also, like, at the end of the day, it's literally like a month, and then all of it's going to be over.
Yep. And it will happen again next year.
So, yeah, I think being able to realize that, like, there are a lot of positive things that will come out of the holidays, like reconnecting, social connection, being able to actually, like, give and receive all of these positive things, and also realizing that there are some things that may be a little bit difficult. Like some of the finances around the holidays, some of the substances, or maybe flaring up old family wounds. But all of those lead to opportunities to be able to rework or reshape a narrative
Right.
from your perception of today.
Totally.
So all of these aren't negative, they're all opportunities to either, reflect, introspect, or grow. It's like, if we're the cycle breakers, this isn't something that fucking happens once and we're like, we broke it. It's like we've carved a new path, and now it's our job to go over it and over it and over it and over it again. And the holidays give us a great opportunity to re-sludge through that mud.
Yeah, and hopefully make it a more enjoyable sludge every single time. Seeing it as an opportunity, as you mentioned, instead of an obstacle, to alleviate yourself of anything you're holding on to, and being able to cultivate a feeling of joy and gratitude, ultimately.
So final takeaways.
Embrace the holidays on your own terms.
Remember the power of saying no. No is a complete sentence.
Is it?
Yeah. No. Give yourself permission to rest. Ooh, that's a good one. But not too much. Because sometimes I'll just rest, and then it's a month and I'm in bed still.
It's February.
Yeah, the holidays have already passed. And then focus on what brings you joy and happiness.
Which is family and connection, honestly.
Yeah.
It always is. It's
Yeah.
always like people. People
Yeah.
always bring you like the most love and feelings of belonging.
It's not stuff. It's not things.
Never is.
It's not substances. It's not gambling. It's not sex. It's people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's people.
You have the power to create joyful holiday experiences that align with your needs and desires rather than pressures from social media or others.
Exactly.
Love that. Well, happy holidays. The number of holidays that we said. Please be safe. And if you are feeling some type of way, like you're lonely or depressed during the season, or you've realized that there's an unhealthy, unbreakable cycle that you need support with, please call us. Please hit us up. We are the Cycle Breakers, the breaking team that help you break cycles. We're connected to therapists, psychiatrists, interventional psych treatments such as ketamine therapy, TMS, SGB, and we're here to help you break those cycles. So if you're at home and you're listening to this and you need some help and you need some support, please call us, text us, fill out the form online, and we will reach out and try to help you your journey.
Happy holidays.